If you're constantly feeling tired, drained, and nothing seems to work, pay close attention. What I'm about to reveal to you isn't about coffee, supplements, or positive thinking. It's a 9-second secret revealed by Thoth, the scribe of the Egyptian gods, capable of unlocking a level of energy you didn't even know you had. And the proof that it works is so simple, you can try it with me right now. Inhale for 3 seconds. Hold for 3 seconds. Exhale for 3 seconds. Did you feel that? That small shift? That's just 1% of this technique's real power. What most people don't know is that those 9 seconds are not random. They are a code. A code that activates something inside your body and that ancient civilizations used to build pyramids and access higher states of consciousness. In this video, I'm not just going to show you how to do it correctly, but I'll reveal why the number 9 is the key. What happens in your brain during the 3-second pause, and how initiates used it to literally shape their own reality. If you're feeling your energy shift, even just a little, comment below. The key is 9, so I know you're waking up. And stay until the end, because the last part will tie all of this together in a way that will forever change how you breathe and how you live. This force you're trying to reignite isn't some modern discovery. On the contrary, it's a golden thread that stitches together the history of humanity's greatest civilizations. If we traveled through time and space, from the valleys of the Indus to the mountains of China, from the temples of Egypt to the philosophical schools of Greece, we'd find the same truth being taught, though with different names and symbols. Ancient manuscripts, separated by oceans and millennia, describe with stunning clarity the existence of an invisible energy that permeates everything, a life force that animates the body and connects the soul to the cosmos. In ancient India, yogis and rishis called it prana. To them, prana wasn't just the air we breathe, but the universal life energy, the driving force behind every movement, thought, and emotion. They developed an entire science, pranayama, dedicated to controlling and expanding that energy through conscious breathing. In China, Taoist masters knew it as qi. They mapped its circulation throughout the body via invisible channels called meridians, and taught practices like Tai Chi and Qigong to harmonize its flow, ensuring health, longevity, and spiritual clarity. In Japan, this same energy was called Ki, a central concept in martial arts and healing practices like Reiki. Mastery of Ki was what enabled extraordinary feats of strength and endurance because the practitioner learned to channel not only muscular power but the energy of the universe itself. And in the West, in the Hermetic tradition that flourished in Egypt and Greece, this force was known as Pneuma, the divine breath, the spirit that links matter and consciousness. Different names, different cultures, but the source was the same, and so was the gateway, breath. The great question that echoes through the ages is, if such a fundamental and universally acknowledged knowledge was the foundation for health and spirituality in entire civilizations, why was it practically erased from our collective awareness? Why did something so essential become hidden knowledge, restricted to small esoteric circles? The answer is as subtle as the energy itself. This wisdom didn't disappear by accident or as a historical oversight. It was deliberately dimmed, buried under the noise of a world that began to value the material over the subtle. The Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the figure who unites the Egyptian Thoth, and the Greek Hermes, describes this energy as the divine breath, the soul of the world, or spiritus mundi, as the alchemists called it. This force connects all living things. Yet, As humanity turned outward, seeking power and validation in the material world, the connection with the inner world grew weaker. The noise of ambition, competition, and materialistic skepticism drowned out the silent voice of inner wisdom, training us to seek answers everywhere except within. This disconnection left us vulnerable, like a house without a foundation, susceptible to any wind of stress or anxiety. We lost the ability to self-regulate, to heal ourselves, and to energize from our own internal source. We became dependent on external stimuli just to feel a flicker of vitality, falling into a cycle of searching and frustration. The wisdom wasn't lost, it was traded for an illusion of progress that cost us our inner peace and vital force. The map to the source was hidden, and we were handed an instruction manual for operating the machine, forgetting to tell us that we are the very energy that powers it. But now, something is changing. Like an ancient echo reverberating through time, this secret is re-emerging, not in history books or museums, but inside the awareness of those ready to listen. It's a silent call, a growing intuition that there must be more to life than this exhausting race. If this message has reached you, it's not by chance. It's a sign your soul is ready to remember. And the way the modern world, without realizing it, has prepared us for this rediscovery is the most ironic and crucial piece of the puzzle. That call you feel is echoing in a body and mind that have been subtly programmed to operate in a very specific way. Think for a moment how your body reacts to a sudden stress, like a scare or an argument. Your shoulders tense, your heart races, and your breath becomes short, rapid, almost imperceptible, concentrated in the upper chest. It's the fight or flight mechanism at work, a biological response designed for immediate survival. Now, look at your daily life. The shocking truth is that for most people, that emergency breath has become the normal default. The modern world, with its flood of notifications, tight deadlines, and constant pressure for productivity, has placed us in a chronic state of alert. We live as if we're constantly running from an invisible predator, and our breath, the truest mirror of our internal state, reflects that reality. It's become shallow, reactive, and chaotic. We no longer breathe to nourish, but to survive the next minute, the next task, the next worry. This programming is so deep and constant that we no longer notice it, accepting exhaustion and anxiety as the price of modern life. The cost of this programming is devastating and manifests on every level of your being. Shallow breathing sends a continuous danger signal to your brain, keeping your mind in a state of confusion and agitation. Thoughts become repetitive, anxious, unable to find clarity or focus. The body, deprived of the oxygen and vital energy that deep breathing provides, emotes a poor mode, resulting in chronic fatigue that no amount of rest seems to cure. You're not tired because you work too much. You're tired because you're operating with your energetic handbrake constantly pulled. The soul, your deepest essence, feels this disconnection acutely. Breath is the bridge between the physical world and the spiritual one. When that bridge is weak and unstable, communication is lost. Intuition falls silent, creativity dries up, and a sense of emptiness and lack of purpose sets in. You can have success, you can have things, you can have everything society defines as winning, but inside, you feel like something vital is missing. That feeling is your soul telling you the vital connection has been compromised, that your energy source has been reduced to a trickle. This is where Hermetic wisdom gives us a precise diagnosis. One of its 7 fundamental principles is the principle of rhythm, which states, Everything flows in and out. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The universe doesn't operate in chaos, but in perfect rhythmic cycles. Your breath should reflect this cosmic rhythm, constant ebb and flow that keeps you in harmony with the pulse of life. When you breathe chaotically, you break this universal law. You fall out of sync with the universe. Inner alchemy, a sister discipline to Hermeticism, teaches a powerful lesson. What doesn't vibrate in order eventually collapses. Your fatigue, your anxiety, your mental fog, these aren't isolated problems. They are inevitable symptoms of this broken rhythm. You are vibrating at a disordered frequency, and your state of being reflects it perfectly. The good news is, just as you were programmed to breathe inefficiently, you can reprogram yourself to realign with your original cosmic pulse. The transformation begins by bringing awareness to the act of breathing. By doing so, you initiate the process of reclaiming control over your own energy system. You stop being a drifting boat, tossed around by the waves of external stress, and begin to become the captain of your own ship. In the next steps, you'll learn not only how to breathe, but how to use breath as the most powerful alchemical tool that exists, capable of turning exhaustion into vitality and chaos into peace. And the secret to this transformation lies in one element of the breath that most people completely overlook. When you finally decide to bring your attention to the breath, something subtle and magical begins to happen. The simple act of observing air coming in and out already calms the nervous system and quiets the mind. But the real power, the secret kept by the initiates, is not just in the movement of inhaling and exhaling. It lies in the silent space that exists between the two. An almost imperceptible moment we usually ignore, but which contains the key to a deep transformation. That moment is the pause, the retention of breath. In that brief instant when the flow stops, when you're neither inhaling nor exhaling, something extraordinary occurs. Time, as we know it, seems to bend. The constant stream of thoughts that normally dominates your consciousness hits a wall. For a second, there's silence. Not just silence of sound, but silence of mental activity. It's a portal that opens a 0 point outside the current of linear time. The ancient mystics of many traditions knew that it's in this exact moment of stillness that the soul finally has a chance to be heard. Thoth, the divine scribe, referred to this sacred pause as the chamber of silence. He described it not as a void, but as a full space where the noise of the material world can't penetrate, allowing the light of pure consciousness to shine without interference. It's the point of stillness at the center of the hurricane, the eye of the storm, where absolute peace resides. It is in that interval that life energy, prana or chi, stops being merely absorbed and begins to be assimilated, distributed, and integrated into every cell of your being. The famous doctor and alchemist Paracelsus, who drank from Hermetic sources, was even more direct in his statement. In the suspension of the breath lies the secret fire of the spirit. He understood that this pause was not passive, but an act of power. It is the moment when consciousness becomes the catalyst of transmutation. The air you inhaled, charged with universal energy, is cooked by the fire of your mindful awareness, transforming into an elixir of vitality that nourishes not only the physical body, but also your more subtle bodies, the energetic and spiritual ones. This pause was what the initiates sought in the most secret rituals and deepest meditations. They knew that the interval between inhale and exhale is the bridge between the visible and invisible worlds, between matter and spirit. It is the ultimate alchemical moment, where potential becomes reality. By holding the breath with awareness, you are, in fact, holding the universe within you for a moment, allowing its wisdom and power to merge with your being. It is an act of union, of communion with the totality of existence. Most people fear the void, the silence, the pause. The conditioned mind craves constant stimulation, movement, noise. It interprets stillness as boredom or even death. But the truth is the opposite. It is in constant noise that life drains away, lost to distraction and superficiality. It is in the conscious pause that true life is found, nourished, and expanded. It is the moment when you stop being a mere reactor to circumstances and become an active agent in the creation of your own energy. Therefore, the practice of conscious breathing takes on a new dimension. It's not just about filling and emptying the lungs. It's about mastering rhythm and, most importantly, honoring the pause. It's in that sacred space that real transformation begins. It's where time bends, energy amplifies, and true power is revealed. And what modern science is beginning to discover about the physiological effects of this act is merely confirmation, in scientific language, of what the sages have always known. While the ancient sages described this transformation in terms of spirit, energy, and soul, modern science, with its tools of measurement and analysis, is finally beginning to decode the biological mechanisms behind this age-old wisdom. What was once considered mysticism is now being validated in neuroscience and physiology labs around the world. The studies are clear and conclusive. Rhythmic and conscious breathing, especially when it includes deliberate pause, has a profound and measurable impact on our entire organism, proving that the ancients were right all along. Researchers have found that when you breathe slowly and deeply, you directly activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of our autonomic nervous system responsible for calming and regenerating us. This neutralizes the fight or flight state most of us live in. Cortisol levels, the stress hormone, drop significantly in the bloodstream. Blood pressure stabilizes, heart rate decreases, and the brain begins to produce alpha and theta brainwaves, associated with deep relaxation, creativity, and sharp focus. But the deepest impact, which science is only beginning to grasp, can't be fully captured by graphs or numbers. It resides in the subjective experience of those who practice it. Ordinary people, with no prior spiritual training, report sensations that defy purely materialistic logic. They describe unexplained chills across the body, a sudden clarity of mind as if a fog has lifted, and a wave of peace and well-being so deep it sometimes brings tears of emotion and gratitude with no apparent external reason. This is where the Hermetic wisdom of Hermes Trismegistus offers us a broader perspective. He taught, the mind, like metals and elements, may be transmuted from state to state, from degree to degree, from condition to condition. Conscious breathing is the ultimate alchemical tool for this transmutation. It activates the principle of vibration, one of the pillars of Hermeticism, which states that everything in the universe is in constant motion and vibration. By changing the rhythm of your breath, you change your own vibrational frequency. Modern science, without using that terminology, describes a corresponding phenomenon, the activation of the vagus nerve. This is the longest nerve in our autonomic nervous system, connecting the brain to almost every vital organ. When stimulated by deep, rhythmic breathing, it releases neurotransmitters like acetylcholine, which act as a natural tranquilizer for the body and mind, inducing a state of calm, safety, and social connection. What the ancients called aligning with the all, science today calls increasing vagal tone. This convergence between science and spirituality is the ultimate sign that we are rediscovering a fundamental truth about human nature. We are not biological machines doomed to react to external stimuli. We are energetic beings with the innate ability to regulate our own internal state. Breathing is the control panel for that regulation. It's the direct interface between our consciousness and our physiology, between our mind and our body, between our spirit and our matter. It is exactly at this intersection between ancient wisdom and modern validation that we approach what Thoth poetically described as the breath that awakens the inner serpent of light. This is not just a metaphor. It is a description of a real energetic activation, a divine spark that lies dormant at the base of our spine, waiting for the right stimulus to awaken. And once that spark is lit through conscious breathing, it begins to illuminate your entire being from the inside out in a way no external light source ever could. The most compelling proof of the truth and power of this knowledge doesn't lie in a single text or culture, but in its universality. If we look at humanity's spiritual map, we see an extraordinary phenomenon. In India, yogis developed pranayama. In China, Taoists perfected qigong. In the Middle East, Sufi mystics practiced dhikr, repetition of sacred names, synchronized with breath. In medieval Europe, alchemists saw breath as the key to internal transmutation. Traditions, separated by vast geographic distances and centuries of history all without exception, arrived at the same fundamental conclusion. This astounding convergence cannot be mere coincidence. It confirms that these traditions weren't inventing techniques, but discovering a fundamental law of human nature. They were mapping the same inner territory, using different languages and symbols to describe the same landscape. All of them identified that the key to health, longevity, mental clarity, and expanded consciousness lay in mastering a breath that was, in its essence, rhythmic, conscious, and contained precise, deliberate pauses. The alchemists, with their genius for symbolism, summed up the entire process in one powerful and concise motto: solve, et coagula, which means dissolve and coagulate. This wasn't just a chemical process, but a map for spiritual transformation perfectly mirrored in the act of breathing. Inhalation is the solve. You dissolve the boundaries of your individual self and absorb the undifferentiated energy of the universe, the spiritus mundi. You open to receive, dissolving old thought patterns and stagnant energy. The pause, the retention, is the crucial moment of alchemy. It is here that pure consciousness, Paracelsus's secret fire, acts upon the energy that's been absorbed. It is a moment of stillness and power where transmutation happens. The universal energy is infused with your intention and the quality of your awareness. And then comes the exhalation, the coagula. You release everything that no longer serves, all physical and energetic toxins, and at the same time, you coagulate or solidify a new state of being purer, stronger, and more aligned with your true essence. Thoth, in his teachings, described these breathing cycles as true internal transmutations. He understood that each conscious breath was an energetic movement that altered the very structure of our subtle body, the energy field that animates the physical body. With each cycle of inhale, pause, and exhale, you are actively rewriting your energetic signature, clearing blockages, strengthening channels, and raising your vibrational frequency. It's not a passive exercise, it's an act of deliberate creation. What begins to unlock when you enter this sacred rhythm is, therefore, much more than just physical energy or mental relaxation. It is your very consciousness that begins to expand. You start to realize that you're not just a body that breathes, but the very consciousness that orchestrates the breath. The separation between you and the energy of the universe begins to dissolve. You realize that the same force that moves the stars and makes the tides rise and fall is the force that flows through you with every breath. This realization is the beginning of true freedom. It's the moment when you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a master of your own energy. All traditions point to this same place because this is a universal truth, engraved in the very structure of the cosmos and the human being. And the technique to access this truth, the key that opens this door, is so shockingly simple that the rational mind, always searching for complexity, often refuses to accept it. After a journey through ancient wisdom, modern science, and universal principles, you might expect that the key to all this power is a complex ritual, a secret mantra locked away, or a physical posture that requires years of practice. But, as with all great secrets of the soul and the universe, the truth is of an almost divine simplicity, so direct and accessible that it can feel offensive to our rational mind, which has been trained to believe that the most powerful solutions must, by nature, be the most complicated. The fundamental technique, the master key that opens the door to this energy source, is based on the number 9, a number of immense symbolic power in countless spiritual traditions, representing the completion of a cycle and the threshold of a new initiation. The practice consists of a 9-second breathing cycle, divided into 3 perfectly symmetrical phases, each lasting 3 seconds. It's a rhythm that mirrors universal harmony, a trinity pattern that echoes through all of creation. The first phase is inhalation. You breathe in slowly, gently, and deeply through your nose, mentally counting to 3. It's not about forcing air in, but allowing it to flow, filling first the base of your lungs, expanding the belly, and then rising to the chest. The second phase is the pause. At the end of the inhale, you hold the air, without tension, for another 3 seconds. This is the sacred moment of alchemy, the point of stillness where the energy is assimilated. The third phase is exhalation. You release the air slowly through the mouth or nose, also counting to 3, completely emptying the lungs. 9 seconds in total, 1 full cycle. The logical mind immediately asks, is that it? And the answer is yes and no. The count is just the structure, the skeleton of the practice. The true secret, the soul of the technique, lies in one single word: presence. It's not about mechanically doing a breathing exercise. It's about total surrender to every second of the cycle. It's feeling the air coming in, feeling the stillness of the pause, feeling the release of the exhale. It's about being fully present in the experience, without judgment, without expectation. This is where the hidden wisdom of the number 9 is revealed. In Hermetic mysteries, 9 is not just a number, but a symbol of totality, completion, and the gateway to the next level of consciousness. Thoth, in his writings, states, 9 are the cycles that come from above. 9 are the dimensions of the shadow realm. The 9-second breath, therefore, is not a random number chosen out of convenience. It is a microcosmic mirror of the mathematical rhythm that governs the subtle planes of creation. By practicing this rhythm, you are doing much more than oxygenating your body. You are consciously aligning your personal energy field with the harmonic frequencies of the universe. You are using a vibrational code to tune into the source of all energy. Every 9-second cycle is an act of realignment, a way to reset your system, clearing the static of anxiety and stress and returning to your natural frequency of peace, power, and clarity. It's a meditation in motion, simple, yet unfathomably deep. Now that the key has been revealed and its deeper meaning laid bare, the next step is to start using it. Theory is only the map, practice is the journey itself. And it's important that you prepare, because when you turn this key in the lock of your own consciousness, your body, long operating in low energy mode, may respond with signs and sensations you haven't felt in years. The activation of this inner force can be, and often is, much more intense and immediate than you might imagine. As soon as you start practicing the 9-second cycle with true presence, something inevitable happens. The change stops being an abstract concept and becomes a physical, undeniable experience. It's not your imagination. It's not a placebo. These are clear signs, direct responses from your energetic body that is finally beginning to wake up from a long, deep sleep induced by routine and disconnection. Your body, an incredibly sensitive instrument, starts to speak a language you may not have heard in a long time. The language of energy in motion, free from blocks and stagnation. Many people report, even in the first few practices, a subtle yet distinct tingling that starts in the palms of the hands and soles of the feet. It's a sensation similar to a very soft electric current, of vibrational buzz that indicates the energy channels, long underused, are being reactivated. This energy, the prana or chi, which was once just a trickle, now begins to flow with more volume and intensity, and the extremities of your body are the first to register this increase in flow. It is the physical proof that energy is, in fact, circulating again. Another common sign is a light but noticeable pressure in the forehead, right at the point between the eyebrows. This location, known in many traditions as the third eye or Ajna chakras, a center of intuition and subtle perception. The sensation of touch or pulsation in this area is not a cause for alarm, but rather a celebration. It means the increased flow of life. Energy is beginning to stimulate and awaken higher centers of consciousness that had remained dormant. It's as if a door, long closed, is being gently pushed open, revealing a glimpse of new ways of seeing and feeling. Along with this, a feeling of expansion in the chest may arise, if your heart is literally opening and taking up more space. This isn't just poetic metaphor. Deep, conscious breathing massages the heart and lungs, releasing physical tension stored in the chest region where we often hold fear and sorrow. Energetically, it means the center of your being, the anahata chakras, unlocking, allowing feelings of love, compassion, and connection to flow more freely, replacing anguish and tightness. Don't be alarmed if you feel waves of heat or cold running up your spine. The spinal column is the main energetic highway of the human body, the channel through which Kundalini energy, the serpent of light, ascends. These thermal sensations are simply the result of prana flowing more strongly through this central channel, clearing blockages and revitalizing every vertebra and nerve along the way. These are unmistakable signs that life force is being redistributed, healing and realigning your system from the inside out, a true energetic recalibration. The alchemists of antiquity, keen observers of the inner nature, had a name for these manifestations, the reaction of subtle matter. They knew that when spirit energy begins to act more intensely on the body matter, it responds with physical sensations. In Hermeticism, This is a clear sign that your physical body is finally resonating vibrationally with your etheric body, your energetic double. The two bodies, once misaligned, begin to vibrate in harmony, like two instruments tuning to the same note. You are literally reconnecting neural and energetic circuits that have been dormant, perhaps since childhood. Your energetic structure is being reorganized to support and contain a higher frequency of consciousness and vitality. Every shiver, every tingle, every pulse is a powerful confirmation that the great alchemical work has begun. You're not just relaxing, you're transforming. And once that transformation begins, it invites you to take the next step, moving the practice from the realm of technique to the realm of the sacred. At first, the 9-second breath is a tool technique you apply deliberately. It's something you do at specific moments and exercise, with a beginning, middle, and end. You sit, count the seconds, focus on the process. And that's essentially it's the necessary first step to build the foundation. But if you persist, if you keep the practice consistent and present a magical, profound transformation occurs. The technique, gradually and almost without you noticing, transcends itself. It stops being a mechanical action and becomes a sacred ritual. Imagine, for a moment, what your day would be like if it started differently. Instead of being yanked out of bed by the harsh sound of an alarm and immediately diving into the cold light of your phone screen, flooding your mind with other people's urgencies and anxieties, you give yourself a gift. Before anything else, you sit in silence and perform 9 cycles of sacred breath. You're not just breathing, you're setting your energy field for the day, tuning your inner instrument to the note of peace, clarity, and power. Now picture yourself in the middle of a chaotic day. An important decision needs to be made. Pressure is rising, external voices are many, and mental confusion is setting in. Instead of reacting impulsively, driven by stress, you step away for 2 minutes. You close your eyes and apply the ritual. You silence the external noise so you can hear the silent wisdom of your intuition. Breath becomes your anchor, your portal to a space of inner clarity where the best answer already exists, waiting to be discovered. And at the end of the day, think about how you usually lie down to sleep. The mind still racing, going over conversations, worries, failures, and the unfinished tasks of tomorrow. Sleep becomes an escape, not a restoration. Now, imagine ending the night with the same ritual you began the day with. You lie down and, through conscious breathing, you deliberately clear the energetic weight of the day, release the body's tension, and surrender the mind to silence, diving into a deep, healing, and truly restorative sleep. When breathing stops being a technique and becomes a ritual, your relationship with life fundamentally changes. You stop being a leaf in the wind, constantly reacting to external circumstances, to other people's moods, to the world's crises. You begin to create your reality from a center of power, calm, and stability that you now know how to access at any moment. You're no longer a victim of life's tides. You become the surfer who has learned to ride the waves with mastery and grace. This is the point where the words of Hermes Trismegistus come to life. Man is a mortal god, and God is an immortal man. By turning a biological act into a sacred act, you are exercising your spiritual sovereignty. You are declaring to the universe that you are no longer a passive participant, but a conscious co-creator of your experience. This is true empowerment to strength that doesn't come from outside, from money or status, but that rises from within, unshakable and infinite. You become the master of your own inner universe. And that mastery isn't arrogant, but deeply humble, because it's based on alignment with universal laws, not an attempt to dominate them. However, this journey of empowerment will face one last and formidable adversary, a gatekeeper who will do everything to keep you in the old pattern, using the most subtle and powerful weapon that exists, your own mind. Just when you start feeling the benefits of the practice, when the energy flows and clarity sets in, an unexpected and sneaky obstacle may arise. It doesn't come from the outside, but from within. It's the voice of your own mind, which starts whispering thoughts of doubt and resistance. This is too simple to really work, it says. You're wasting your time. You could be doing something more productive. Or suddenly, an overwhelming urge to stop, check your phone, do literally anything other than sit in silence and breathe. Don't be fooled for a second. That voice, that resistance, is not you. It's not your true essence speaking. It's your ego, your conditioned mind, acting as the gatekeeper of your old self. For years, your mind has been trained to seek complexity, to feed off drama, to stay busy with constant distraction. The silence, the simplicity, and the self-generated power of conscious breathing are a direct threat to its dominance. If you can find peace and power within yourself, the ego loses its role as the anxious protector. This phenomenon is a rite of passage known in all mystery schools and esoteric traditions. It's the confrontation with the guardian of the threshold. The guardian isn't an evil external entity, but the sum of all your limiting beliefs, your fears, and your conditioned patterns. Its role is to keep you in your comfort zone. If that zone is a place of anxiety, exhaustion, and superficiality, it pulls you back into the known reality, into the familiar prison, because the unknown, even if it promises freedoms, terrifying to it. Thoth, in his teachings on the soul's journey, made it clear that to access the halls of wisdom, the inner realms of power and light, you must first pass by the guardian, and the key to this passage is not fighting. Fighting your mind is a game you'll never win, because the mind feeds on conflict. Trying to force thoughts away only gives them more strength. The real Ketha, secret of the masters, is detached observation. The strategy is not to fight, not to resist, not to get frustrated. When the voice of doubt arises, simply observe it. Acknowledge the thought. Ah, there's the mind trying to pull me back. Thank the guardian for its attempt to protect you, because that's its programming. And then, gently and firmly, return your focus to the anchor of your breath. Feel the air coming in. Feel the pause. Feel the air going out. Every time you do this, you're performing an act of immense power. Every time you consciously choose to return to your breath, instead of getting caught up in the ego's train of thought, you weaken the guardian's hold over you. You are training yourself to disidentify from your mind. You're showing through action who's in charge. It's not a battle, it's training. And with repetition, the guardian grows quieter, its voice loses urgency, and the gateways to the inner realms begin to open more easily. By passing through this test, you gain access to an even deeper understanding of the purpose of this practice. You begin to realize that Thoth and other masters didn't teach breathwork merely as a tool for generating physical and mental well-being. They taught it as something much greater, a vibrational key vehicle for consciously navigating the different layers of reality, for traveling between worlds. As you master the mind's resistance and deepen your practice, you begin to access the true secret that Thoth and the Hermetic masters left to humanity. Conscious breathing wasn't, for them, just a relaxation technique or a tonic for health. That was only the surface layer, the first benefit. The real purpose, the great arcane, was to use the breath as a vibrational key, a subtle and powerful tool to consciously navigate the different dimensions of existence, the various planes of reality. The 9-second cycle, with its triadic 333 structure, is not just a symbolic number pattern. It is a code that generates a specific frequency, a harmonic tone, capable of making your consciousness resonate with the subtler planes of existence. Just as a tuning fork can make a guitar string vibrate from a distance if both are in the same frequency, your rhythmic breath can tune your awareness to perceive realities that are normally beyond the reach of your 5 physical senses. In the Emerald Tablets, Thoth reveals this truth in poetic and profound form. Know, O man, that all which exists is but an aspect of things yet to come. He wasn't speaking of some distant future, but of dimensions of reality that coexist with ours here and now, only vibrating on a different frequency. He describes how consciousness, once freed from the chains of the reactive mind, can travel to the halls of Amenti, an interdimensional space of wisdom, healing, and knowledge. Rhythmic breathing is the vehicle for this sacred journey. As you practice, you're not just calming your mind, you are, in fact, building and stabilizing your light body, the Merkaba, as it's known in other traditions. This subtle energy body is your vehicle for interdimensional travel. Each cycle of conscious breath strengthens this body, increases its luminosity, and stabilizes its capacity to hold and process the higher frequencies of the upper planes. You begin to realize that reality is much more fluid and malleable than you ever believed. During practices, especially in the silent pause, you may start having glimpses, insights, or downloads of information that don't seem to come from your logical mind. Creative ideas, solutions to complex problems, or a deep sense of connection to the totality of life may arise spontaneously. This is the beginning of your conscious navigation, receiving information from the higher planes. This means you're preparing to become a true cosmic traveler and explorer of the inner realms. Breathwork stops being about escaping stress and becomes about exploring consciousness. You understand that you are not limited to your physical body or your personal identity. You are a vast, unlimited consciousness, temporarily focused in this human experience, and breath is your tool to remember that truth and begin exploring your other homes. This expansion of consciousness, this ability to tune into other realities, inevitably starts to produce a deep and transformative effect on your everyday world. The inner journey begins to reshape your outer reality in ways that seem magical, but which are, in fact, the operation of a precise and unfailing universal law, the law of correspondence. When you integrate this practice into your daily life, not just as a ritual, but as a state of being, the change that occurs is so deep that it transcends the borders of your inner world. The transformation begins to leak into your outer reality, reshaping your world in a way that your old mind, trapped in the logic of effort and struggle, could never have conceived. What once seemed solid and unchangeable begins to become fluid and responsive to your new inner frequency. This isn't positive thinking, it's vibrational physics. People and situations that once relentlessly drained your energies, seemingly endless sources of stress and conflict, begin to naturally fall away from your life. There's no fight, no confrontation, they simply lose resonance with you, like two magnets repelling. Your new vibration of calm and power no longer finds a point of connection with the frequency of drama and negativity. They move away to find someone who still vibrates on their wavelength, leaving a clear and open space in your life. In this newly created space, new opportunities, people, and experiences perfectly aligned with your new vibrational state begin to show up, often in unexpected and synchronistic ways. You might call it luck or coincidence, but in truth, it's the universe responding to the clarity of your new energetic signal. The right person calls at the right time. The perfect book falls into your hands. The opportunity you didn't even know you were looking for presents itself. Your life begins to flow with a grace and ease that once felt impossible. Your intuition, that quiet voice that was once drowned out by the noise of the mind, now becomes a clear and reliable guide. You start to know things without knowing how you know. You make decisions with a calm confidence, guided by a sense of inner direction that goes beyond logical analysis. You know which path to take, what to say, and more importantly, when to stay silent. Life stops being a series of guesses and becomes a collaborative dance with the flow of the universe. This isn't magic in the sense of breaking the laws of nature. On the contrary, it's the masterful application of the most fundamental law of the universe, the Hermetic principle of correspondence. As within, so without. By shifting your internal vibration through conscious breathing, you change the electromagnetic signal your being emits. The universe, which is a responsive energy field, has no choice but to reorganize the matrix of reality around you to correspond to your new frequency. The great alchemists of the past were never truly interested in turning literal lead into physical gold. That was a metaphor for the most important process of all, the great work. They sought to transmute the lead of dense, reactive, unconscious awareness into the gold of awakened, illuminated, creative consciousness. The change in the material world improved health, wealth, and relationships was seen only as a natural and inevitable consequence of that inner transformation. You realize you were never trying to change the world. You were only changing yourself. And by doing so, the entire world transforms for you. You understand that reality is not something fixed that happens to you, but a fluid reflection that happens through you. And when that understanding deepens, your journey takes on a new dimension, moving from self-improvement to service because your very presence becomes a force of transformation for others. The final stage of mastery on this inner journey isn't defined by what you acquire or achieve for yourself, but by what you begin to radiate into the world effortlessly. When your energy becomes consistently high, balanced, and coherent, you transcend the need to seek energy and become a source. Your very presence becomes a healing and stabilizing force in the environment around you. You become, without conscious intention, a lighthouse of stability in an ocean of chaos and uncertainty. People naturally start to feel calmer and safer around you. They may not know why, but in your presence, their anxiety eases, their minds quiet down, and they feel more connected to themselves. Your energy field, now vibrating at a frequency of peace and coherence, positively influences the more chaotic energy fields around you, inviting them to rise and attune to your harmony. You heal by simply being. Your words, now spoken from a place of presence and clarity, carry a new weight and a new impact. They are no longer just sounds, but vehicles of energy and truth. People hear you differently because they feel the alignment between what you say and the energy you radiate. You inspire others, not by trying to convince them with logical arguments, but because your very vibration is living proof of the truth you share. You become an example, not a preacher. You become a point of stability for your family, your friends, and your community. In times of crisis or uncertainty, people are naturally drawn to your calm. You don't offer easy solutions or false hope. Instead, you offer a space of non-judgment and stable presence, where others can find their own strength and clarity. You don't need to do anything, just keep your own light shining, and that is enough to illuminate the path for those in the dark. This phenomenon is a living demonstration of the Hermetic principle of vibration, which states, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Physics teaches us that a stronger, more coherent vibration has the power to entrain and tune weaker, less coherent vibrations. When your personal vibration is strong, clear, and harmonious, it inevitably lifts the vibrations of those you interact with. It's a form of silent service, but immensely powerful. Thoth taught that a true master of wisdom becomes a sun for others. He doesn't seek the light, he radiates light. He doesn't seek warmth, he radiates warmth, nourishing life around him simply by existing in his natural state. At this point, your personal purpose expands magnificently. The journey that began as a search for your own energy culminates in the joy of becoming a source of energy for the world, contributing to the elevation of collective consciousness. And it's in this radiant state of being that the final and most liberating truth of all is revealed. A truth that has been present since the very beginning, but that can only now be fully understood and felt in every cell of your being. The truth that this entire journey was never about learning, but about something far deeper and more intimate. After walking this entire path from initial exhaustion to radiant energy, the most profound and moving truth of the journey finally reveals itself in full. And the revelation is this: none of this, absolutely none of it, is new to you. This wisdom, this power, this rhythm is not being implanted into your mind or your body like new software. It's being awakened from a deep latency, like an ancient seed finally receiving the water and light it needed to sprout. Every cell of your physical body, every molecule of your DNA, carries the ancestral memory of this cosmic rhythm. Every atom that makes up your being intimately knows the universal language of vibration. You didn't learn how to breathe this way, you remembered how you always knew how to breathe. You were born with this connection, intact with this innate wisdom. It was the world, with its noise, its programming, and its distractions, that patiently taught you to forget who you are. This practice, then, is not an act of acquisition, but an act of deep and sacred remembering. It's a return to your original state, to your divine blueprint. Every 9-second cycle is a step back home, back to your center, back to your truth. You are simply removing the layers of conditioning, the dust of forgetting that built up over the years, to allow your original light, which never went out, to shine again in full. Thoth, in one of the most beautiful passages from the Emerald Tablets, says, "Seek first the mysteries of your own heart, and you will discover the knowledge that was lost." He didn't say to seek knowledge in books or external teachers. He pointed inward to the heart, the center of your being, because he knew the ultimate truth was always there, patiently waiting to be rediscovered. Wisdom is not outside, it is etched in your very soul. The 9-second breath, then, reveals itself not as the source of power, but as the master key that opens the door to the treasure chamber that already exists within you. The power was always yours. The energy was always available. Peace was always your natural state. The practice was simply the means by which you remembered how to access what had always been your birthright. You didn't find a treasure, you realized that you are the treasure. You are the wisdom you were seeking, the master you were searching for, the source of energy you were craving. That realization dissolves the spiritual hierarchy, the idea that power is somewhere up there, or in the hands of a chosen few. The power is here now within you and within every human being. The only difference between a master and a student is that the master remembered this truth, while the student is still in the process of remembering. And now, with that memory restored, with the key in your hands and the door to your inner power wide open, you are faced with the final choice. The same choice that every human being, in every time and place, faces the moment they awaken to their true nature. A choice that will define not just your future, but the very essence of your existence from this moment forward. You've reached the end of this guide, but in truth, you are only at the real beginning of a new and extraordinary journey. The information has been delivered, the map has been laid out, the key has been placed in your hands. The knowledge that was kept for centuries now vibrates in your awareness. What happens next no longer depends on any text, any guide, or any external master. It depends entirely and exclusively on you, and the choice before you is the most fundamental of all. Now, you find yourself at a crossroads, the same one all initiates in history have faced. On one side is the familiar path, comfortable in its known misery. You can treat all of this as an interesting read, a fascinating theory, and then slowly allow the inertia of daily life to pull you back. Back to automatic breathing, back to reactive living, back to that subtle, persistent feeling of always being one step behind, always chasing something you never seem to catch. On the other side is a path of presence and conscious power. You can take this simple 9-second key, this sacred tool of remembering, and use it, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, right now, and again tomorrow, and the next day. You can choose, moment by moment, to align with your source of power, to energize from within, and to actively remember who you really are with every breath cycle. The choice, as it always has been and always will be, is entirely yours. If you made it this far, drop in the comments. My energy is at the highest level, so I know this message found a place within you. And if you want to support this channel more directly, there's a link in the first pinned comment where you can contribute and help spread more content like this out into the world. Any help means a lot to me and to the growth of the channel. But just the fact that you watched until the end already makes all the difference. And if you can, share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Now, don't leave just yet. I picked a special video for you, it's showing up on your screen. Click on it now, and I'll see you there.